Hello, everybody. My name is Barry Johns, and welcome back to another edition of Studio Talk. You know, the 500 series format has become very, very popular in the project studio market. I'm a huge fan of it, but you know what? There's some cautionary tales to think about when going down that road. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get to it. Ha! Okay. So, I've got two different 500 series racks in my studio here. Each one of them holds 6 units each. They're BAE. One thing to consider when you're buying 500 series racks, make sure this isn't as much of a problem today as it's been in the past, but know out there that some of these units are underpowered to be able to properly be able to utilize every single piece of 500 gear out there. Some of the ones you're going to bank with, of course, are API and BAE, as well as some others. So make sure you do your homework. If it's too good to be true, if that cost is too cheap, there's a reason for that, and you should consider that. Now let's talk about 500 series racks and some things to look for on the back of them to where they may be beneficial for you down the road. Okay, so all of them pretty much have analog in and analog out per channel. But some of them, I think API was the first to adopt this. And that's, in addition to that, just adding the DB25 connector to the back of it, making it much cleaner to run your signals from point A to point B. I highly encourage going with DB25 if you can find one that has that on it. Trust me, at some point in your journey, you will appreciate that fact because cable management gets crazy, okay? Next up, you've got a couple manufacturers, one specific, I can't remember the name, but you can do your own research and look into it, that has a 500 series rack that is ADAT connectable. In other words, you can use your interface ADAT out, ADAT in and out, your light pipe in and out on the back of it, to get the signal back and forth between your 500 series rack. Now, this is really great when you're looking into all the various uses of it, but it comes at a cost, and having that flexibility. The thing to consider is the analog to digital and the digital to analog conversion that happens. How good are the converters in those units? So consider that if you consider going down that road looking at one of those. Okay, so now we've got that foundation out of the way. Let's talk about the 500 series racks. Or not racks, but units themselves. Like I said before, these things have become massively powerful. What you can do is get a lot of potent power in a very small footprint. A lot of people don't have the real estate to have multiple racks to have your standard 19-inch rack gear. It's much easier to compact that down into a small surface where you can easily reach out and turn the dials and manipulate things and still stay in the sweet spot if you set it up correctly while you're mixing. So here's the cautionary tale to 500 series units, and I cannot stress this enough. Look. And this is not just 500 series. This next piece of advice really goes to all pieces of hardware, but I see this a lot in 500 series groups as well as 500 series forums out there on the www.world Wide Web. And so I keep seeing this a lot, and I get it and I understand why, but I want you to possibly consider thinking about it before you jump in to certain pieces of 500 series hardware. Like anything else in what we do, you get what you pay for the most part. That has honestly been true for the vast majority of things as it relates to music creation. It's not everything. There's some diamonds in the rough. There's some jewels out there, but they're harder and harder to truly find. And so when you're first diving into this 500 series things, you're going to find that there's quite a few manufacturers out there that love to make really inexpensive 500 series gears that looks really, really great in that rack, but the quality of those units has a lot to be desired. Let's just put it nicely. Okay. So when you don't know what you don't know, when you're at your first foray into hardware, you get your first piece and you're thinking, oh man, this is awesome. And you could work in that particular level for some time and not even realize, oh my gosh, had you just saved a little more money, just a little more money, you could have gotten a much higher quality piece of gear that would have held its resale value. The great thing now, okay, so what did I just caution you? Don't buy cheap junk, okay? We all like turning knobs and dials, and we like it's cool, and we like the fact of it, we like working with it, we like the idea of it, especially those of you who have not worked in a traditional hardware sense. In your journey, in your recording journey, where I grew up on hardware, there was no digital. So all I had was hardware. Okay. And so that comes with its own set of problems, but its own set of opportunities. Okay. And so keep that in mind when you're buying it. Be careful buying the junk now. Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, there's so many great 500 series units out there that you can get all caught up into the drama of owning them. And I see a lot of people kind of get into it and then get out of it. And so they think it's going to be this magic pill that's going to take their mixes to the whole next level. And are they going to make an improvement if you purchase the right ones and you know how to properly use them? Yes, you're going to get some advantage out of analog over any plug-in, assuming that you've got a decent piece of analog gear. So understanding that, as you're growing in your love for 500 series, also grow in your understanding that the obsession cannot be about filling the rack as soon as you can. What you really need to think about is filling the rack with the right pieces of gear, okay? A lot of people will go out and the first thing they'll invest in, which is what I did the same thing, is you get into microphone preamps into the 500 series. And a lot of people think having a high quality microphone preamp is going to transform their recordings. It's not. It's not. It's going to make a difference. It's going to make a cumulative difference as you continue to layer them on top of each other. But it's not going to be that smoking gun that gives you, holy crap, how did I live my whole life without this microphone preamp? Okay. But that can happen with compressors and EQs. And so when you're searching these things out, try to get a balance. For me, first, I want to focus on getting a couple of high quality microphone preamps. The next thing I want to focus on is getting at least a couple of high quality and hopefully a little bit different compressors that I can use with that. And then a couple of different EQs. For most people, if you have two EQs of different varieties, two compressors of different varieties, and two mic preamps of different varieties, that's going to give you just about all you're really going to need in your tracking aspect of things, and then as well as incorporate that into hardware. Now, if you happen to work in stereo, you're recording two sources at the same time in a stereo situation, then simply duplicate the pieces of gear that you know you're going to want to record in stereo. So the 500 series are great. They have so much potential, and I've got quite a few videos that I plan on doing on the 500 series because there's so much to talk about, and you cannot keep it all in one thing. But I would say if you're journeying down that road and you're not quite into that road yet, what are some lessons learned from mistakes that people have made in the past and mistakes I've made in the past? It's really quite simple, and I'll summarize here before we end the video. 500 series can be great. They're compact. You can get within an arm's reach if you do it properly and set it up properly. They are an outstanding format for being able to incorporate hardware into your digital audio workstation and into your recording process. They are outstanding at that. Downside to that, be careful. Don't buy junk, okay? Don't buy cheap stuff just so you can fill your rack. Don't be obsessed with filling your rack and getting inferior gear that you're eventually going to get rid of and you're not going to get hardly any of your money back on it. Take your time, be patient, know that this is a long haul. Look, let's face it, to fill up a 500 series rack could easily put you in the $4,000 to $6,000, if not somewhat more, depending on the units that you buy. So that is not something that most people are going to dive off that diving board and jump into right away. So consider that. I think it's a wonderful format. I love the format, but just understand to try to have balance and perspective. Later on, we're going to talk about how to utilize certain pieces of 500 gear, certain types of 500 gear into your workflow. So stay tuned for that. So until next time, I hope every one of you have a wonderful day. But wait, before you go, don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification bell so you know when I got new videos out. So bye-bye. Have a good 500 day. See you later. Hasta la vista, baby.